Uh, Let me get going here. Good morning. It is still morning. I'm Chris Martinez. I am the Executive Director for Hispanic Contractors of Colorado. And we welcome you this morning to our professional development training with John Chisholm. This is going to be quite a treat, I think, this morning of having this particular webinar. I wanted to remind folks that we will be recording today's webinar, and there's also a chat room. If you go up to the top, you right-hand side, you'll drop a little box down, and there's a little chat that you can put in questions. If you have questions, you can certainly put them in through there. We will monitor it here at the office and make sure that those questions get asked as well. Or you could, if you have questions for John, especially obviously, you could put them in that chat room, and we'll get them. You also can send private ones to the Hispanic contractors, and we will respond to that, is what I really meant to say. At the end of today's webinar, we are also going to do a survey. And I'm doing the plug now because we get low response rate on our surveys. Really want you to please take the time. It just takes a couple minutes to do the survey. Really like to know how you heard about today's webinar, whether it was from a colleague, social media, through our newsletter, through our announcements. You would just take a couple minutes and do the survey. We really, really would appreciate it. We're trying to improve our process and trying to get the information out to folks. And this is the only way we get information back is from you. So we would appreciate if you would help us out with our survey at the end. Let's get started with professional development training with John Chisholm. Thank you. We want to say thank you to our platinum members. These are the folks who are at the highest level membership with HCC. They're the folks that help us keep our doors open, and we certainly appreciate their support. But we do have membership at all levels, even for the one-person shop. So if you're interested in becoming a member, please contact me. It's our board of directors, 14 members, all volunteers. These folks volunteer their time to help HCC plan its course of action. And so if you see any of these folks, do thank them for their time that they give to Hispanic contractors. For those who are maybe new to HCC, and there are quite a few of you on the call today, thought it'd be great to show what our mission is. And it's primarily to help our small businesses in the Colorado construction industry. Although we do have a lot of members that are outside the small business world, construction world as well, that do work with construction companies, and they are part of our members as well. I want to thank our Women in Leadership Committee. This is one of the committees HCC has. These are the folks who actually put today's webinar together, and we appreciate their time and efforts in doing that, as they are doing the TED Talk series we're now in the end of the year, so there'll be more. I think this is number 2 of the series. So Women in Leadership Committee members are on. Thank you for your leadership and your contribution to Hispanic contractors. John Chisholm. John is an executive coach who left his role as a leader in the corporate world to pursue his passion for coaching others through their own adventures. He is focused on helping emerging leaders and seasoned professionals thrive in not only their leadership, but in life. John's experience includes leadership roles in architecture and construction, but you have a great audience. In addition, John has held leadership positions in several nonprofit organizations. Consistent throughout John's career is his ability to lead teams to successful outcomes. In the latter stages of my career, I developed a passion for mentoring emerging leaders and observing what leadership skills make successful executives. In 2018, I decided to take action on this passion and became a certified professional coach. Within a few months, I decided to transition from my corporate role to a full-time coaching practice. Those are words from John Chisholm. When John isn't focused on helping emerging leaders and busy with, he is a father, husband, and mentor in his local community. And the community often mentors young people and highly respected and looked as a source of wisdom and advice. John is an honest, caring, and passionate person who loves to see others succeed in not only their own endeavors, but in their personal lives as well. He is like most Coloradans, does enjoy the outdoors. John is a hiker, skier, cyclist, and an avid supporter of Colorado sports teams. John, welcome. We certainly appreciate you giving your time today to us. And I will.
Great. All right. Can you see my screen?
We cannot see your screen yet.
Okay.
There we go.
Got it?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Let me see if I can get this into presentation mode. There we go. Well, welcome this morning. I really appreciate everybody spending the time joining us to talk about leadership, talk about goals and the things that we need to do in order to grow in our careers. That intro was a pretty tough act to follow, but thank you for that. I know a few of you on this call, so hello to my friends and co-workers over the years. It's a pleasure to be with you. I want you to, if you could see at the top of the screen, there is a go to www.mentee.com. If you use your cell phone and go into Mentee and type in that code, there's going to be a little bit of interaction between us in what I call a word cloud situation. So if you could take the time to do that, I'll let you do that really quickly. And while you're doing that, I'm going to introduce the title of my speech today. All right, so John Chisholm, a certified professional coach, you got all that. IPEC is the coaching program that I am certified in. It's the Institute for Professional and Executive Coaching. And a lot of what we're going to talk about today, it comes out of a core energy leadership dynamics. So credit where credit's due. I've been through all these trainings, but I've also added a lot of my own twists and turns to this. Today, we're going to talk about the concept of where is your there. It's an interesting question. It's kind of a play on words, right? We talk a lot about somebody asks you the question, how you do it. You say, well, I'm hanging in there, or I'm getting there. And the real question is, where is you there? And I want us to put ourselves in this, this idea of leadership. Where is your there in leadership? What does that mean to you? How do you define that? So first, we're going to talk about goals today. That'll kind of come at the end after we've talked through a number of different leadership concepts. But I want to know if you could answer this question for me. And before I read the question, I want to ask you to write your answers out in text and not enter the number itself. It'll look better in the word cloud. So on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being I despise goal setting, and 10 being goal setting has changed my life, how do you feel about goal setting? So just type in, start typing in. Can you see how this is developing? All right. Well, it looked like 8 was going to win that, but at the end of the day, everybody's kind of right down the middle of the road about goal setting. I expected to see a few 1s because there are a few of us that might not have been so excited about setting goals. But anyway, let's talk about there. If you don't have a clear there, let me see here. I'm going to see if I can. All right, now you can see me. Is that right? Give me a thumbs up. So I'm sure most of you are muted. Yeah, so where is your there? And if you don't have a clear definition of where there is in your concept of leadership, then you're not going to know how to get there, right? If we don't know where we're going, we're not going to be able to get there. And where do we want to be in our life? Now, there is not a place or a position. I mean, you can state something along the lines of, I want to be president of my company. That's a noble, goal to have. But your there would be more like, I want to have all the skills and the leadership skills in order to be able to lead this company. So it's more of a state of being. It's more of a list of characteristics that would allow you to lead, whether it be in that company or another company. And another way to look at that would be, I want the lead performance in that role in a play or a movie, versus the concept of, I want to develop and grow in the skills necessary to take on a lead role in that film or in that movie. Does that make sense? So the idea would be that you're finding your greatest potential. So I know that we've invested a lot in ourselves over the years. We've been to school, or we've been through the school of hard knocks. We've sacrificed time for our career. We've done a lot of hard work, and all these things are good. And what I'd like to ask you is, how have those things contributed to your overall leadership capabilities? And in jest, I ask, how much are you willing to invest in your there? You say, well, I've got a job. I've been working for 5 years, 10 years, 30 years at this job. But when you think about your there, step aside from what you've done, step aside from the positions that you've held, and say, am I getting closer to there? How much time do you spend each week defining and plotting your course to there? So doing that, ask these kinds of questions. What do I get to create today? Okay. I was very good at task lists, man. I'd come into the office first thing in the morning. I'd lay out my task list, and I'd get to it, get those tasks accomplished. But I would never really step back and say to myself, okay, what do I want to create today from a leadership perspective? What or who am I grateful for? Put my mindset in a state of leadership. Or who can I serve today? I think those are great questions to kind of reframe just the task-oriented world that we can sometimes get ourselves into. How can I lead today? It's not planning daily activity, as I stated. It's planning who you want to be as a leader. How are you going to bring yourself to the office? How are you going to bring yourself to these meetings each day? So if you could think about goals in that context, how would you answer the same question? And I'm gonna jump back to shared screen. And I'd like you to answer that question again, but in the light of, if you had the perspective of goals that were about your leadership character, your leadership qualities, how would you answer that question? Go ahead and answer. Great. That's great. Thank you. So I think if you look at this, the largest word is 6, So maybe there's a little bit of an uptick, but I see a lot of 8s, 9s, and a 10 or 2 even. I think when we think about goals in that context, it gives us a little bit more motivation, a little bit more ability to think about those goals. Finding your greatest potential. This can be defined as your ideal leadership performance. So I want you to take a minute, however you'd like, close your eyes or take a few deep breaths. And I want you to think about your ideal leadership performance. So I don't know about you, but I thought a lot of my leadership would be exhibited in project interviews. That's just kind of where my mind goes, because I worked for a general contractor for so long and we're always trying to get work. So in my vision, I would think of how did I perform in those interviews? And what is the ideal leadership performance look like? So imagine a leadership opportunity specific to your life, whether it be at work or whether it be in a real life situation. You're at the top of your game, right? You're feeling great, you're confident, you engage in the opportunity, and after you're finished, you're absolutely and completely satisfied with your performance. Answer this question. What qualities of leadership did you exhibit that made this performance so completely satisfying? And you can share more than one answers if you'd like. Just 1 or 2 words per answer. Well, this is great. Stop for a minute and take a look at these. What an amazing list of leadership qualities that we have to look at here. Confidence was the first one to come up on the screen, and it was the most frequently voted upon, so to speak. Confidence would have created that leadership presentation. Listening was second. That's a really insightful answer, because when you're in a presentation or when you're leading, listening to the people around you is obviously a very high, might even be tied with confidence. I can't really tell, but communication, connection, passion, shared vision, collaboration. I mean, this list is amazing when it comes to leadership characteristics. So, as you think about leadership, I want you to consider this definition. Leadership is the ability to inspire people to give up their discretionary energy. Now, discretionary is defined as left to individual choice or judgment. So in our work situation, we have certain things that are required of our energy, right? Show up every day, do the tasks that you need to do. Leadership is what grabs people, what inspires people to take that extra energy, the discretionary energy that they have in their life, in their day at work, and invest it in whatever task, whatever goal that the company or the team has to look at. So that's the vision of a truly inspiring leader. And take a minute to think about who's that been in your life. Could have been a parent, could have been a boss, could have been a teacher, somebody on a sports team. I think about this, one of the bosses that I worked for over the years, and I took a position knowing that it was going to stretch me. And part of that was a part of the job that I knew was going to be there that I had not enjoyed for the first 15, 20 years of my career. But I took the position to do a little bit of a stretch. And what happened was I got in there with a guy that was able to not demonstrate the tasks involved in doing that specific task. I'll share with you, hard bidding. That most of you understand what that is. So the hard bid mentality was really difficult for me. I'd been in a negotiated mindset for many years. But when I got into this situation, I experienced a leader that demonstrated to me how I could get excited about this. He brought a lot of positive energy. He brought a lot of inspiring words, and he always walked in the office just ready to go. And I learned a ton from him, probably learned more from him than any other leader or boss in my career. And I think that guy was a leader. He inspired me to invest my discretionary energy in that task of hard bidding. And it really made a difference in moving forward. Let's take a minute to think specifically about our own situation. So grab a pen and a piece of paper and write down qualities, beliefs, attitudes, maybe skills that you need for leadership performance. And make a list of 5. Think of it for a minute. Think about it for a minute and make a list of 5. And I'll give you about 30 seconds to do that. Okay. Give me a thumbs up if you're close to ready. Okay. Now, rate each of these characteristics on a scale of 1 to 5. 1 being your most important, what you would see as your most important leadership skill. 5 being the important but not as important. And then take a second and put a star next to the 2 leadership characteristics that you believe would have the biggest impact on your career, on your leadership. Now I've got another question up on the screen. How willing are you to make those changes on a scale of 1 to 10? And please spell out the number. Make those changes, grow in that area, invest time to grow those qualities, beliefs, attitudes, and skills. It's telling me that voting's closed. Are you guys having a hard time putting?
open now. It seems to be open now.
Okay. All right, there you go. Okay. Thank you for answering that, but check those numbers out. Yeah, I think it's important for us to take the time to think about the important leadership skills that we need, the state of leadership, and be willing to invest in those. So 6, 7, 8, and 9, those are high scores. People are very willing to invest to make changes like that. So briefly, I want to talk about leadership needs versus leadership wants. And it seems to be a bit of an obvious statement, but the needs of leadership, you really need to consider what it means to have the needs of leadership. And I would categorize that as things like eating right, sleeping well, developing communication skills, things that speaking, writing, those skills. The wants of leadership might be something like enjoy every day at work. That's kind of a want. It's leading without fear. It's connection with values, different things like that. But we need to focus on the needs first in order to put ourselves in a position to be the strongest leader that we can be. Now, I want to transition over to one of my favorite concepts in coaching and in leadership. And it's this concept of mastery versus a performance leadership orientation. So performance orientation is so-called ego orientation. It's people with a performance that is expressed as doing better than others. Okay? They want to win. They want to compare themselves to others. The sense of self-worth and value comes from victory. And many times you're judging the outcomes of each situation as good or bad. Likely to be extrinsically motivated by money or advancements, something tangible or something psychological. But that's performance orientation. And I think we all have a little bit of it, don't we? I mean, we're all a little bit competitive. We all want to do a good job. We all want to win the job. And so it's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just something to recognize. Mastery orientation, on the other hand, refers to the desire to continually develop to be the best you can be. Performing and leading in order to become more competent, effective, or highly skilled than you are already. In any moment, you're concentrating on what will help you lead better in the long run. With the mastery orientation, you're internally focused and tend to have high intrinsic motivation. In other words, you're motivated because of feelings of pleasure or satisfaction you get from completing or working on a task. With a mastery orientation, you are not concerned with the outcome of any particular performance, because you know that no matter what occurs, you can learn from what happened and thus move closer to mastery. That's a pretty impressive place to live, I think. But I think it's important for us as we pursue leadership, strong leadership, that we find that state of mastery. So that, for instance, you walk into a situation and there's a mistake made. And we all make mistakes. And it's just how we look at those mistakes, right? It's, okay, we're all going to take a little bit of swallow hard or a little bit of a punch in the gut kind of feeling when we make a mistake. But to be able to step back and say, okay, I made a mistake. It's not the end of my career. It's not going to change my life significantly. How can I learn from this mistake? How can I develop a process or develop a mindset where I won't make this mistake again? And I think when we start to understand the mastery concept, then our leadership skills start to demonstrate themselves. So we're not showing ourselves to be after the win and the victory all the time. We're showing ourselves as someone that wants to grow ourselves and our team to be the best that they can be. And I think that's a pretty powerful way for us to develop leadership in our own lives. So now we're going to take those two concepts and we're going to start talking a little bit about goals. Actually, we're going to start talking a lot about goals. There's 4 kinds of goals that I just want to touch on, and then we're going to get into this concept of aim smart goal setting. The 4 types of goals are performance avoidance goals. Performance avoidance goals are any kind of goals you set where you know you're going to be successful and you avoid any kind of failure or challenge in your goals. Performance approach is a goal in which you demonstrate and validate your abilities by achieving a specific outcome. Mastery goals, which is one of the higher level goals, are designed to increase your competency, your understanding, your long-term success.